Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a thriller from the UK, English language, released in the year 2018, directed by Anthony Byrne, and this film is called In Darkness. So In Darkness is about this blind musician who is living in London. She lives in an apartment complex, and above her, her neighbour is a beautiful Serbian woman whose father is an ex-Serbian warlord who served time in the Bosnian War. Now, a lot of people want this man to stand trial for war crimes, which has a devastating effect on this daughter. So she's a very troubled individual, but she actually talks to this blind woman in the stairwells. And so this blind woman is more of an acquaintance, but she actually takes a lot of interest in this young woman and who she is as a person. So one evening, this Serbian woman comes up to the main character. She's panicking, and she actually slips something in this main character's pocket. Now, this main character has no idea what this is, but it appears to be very important. So the next evening, this Serbian woman is discovered dead. Now, the police deem it as a suicide. They say that she jumped out of her apartment window for whatever reason, but this main character believes it has something to do with her new possession. So as the movie goes along, when she uncovers the truth, she realises that there are people who want this new possession and will stop at nothing in order to get it. And so if this blind woman wants to avoid the same fate as her Serbian friend, she's going to have to uncover the truth before it's all too late. So whether or not she can is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now, my thoughts on In Darkness. I was very, very excited for this film. When I saw the trailer, I thought to myself, this looks like an English version of Julia's Eyes. Now, Julia's Eyes with Belen Rueda, who is a fantastic film. I thought that was taking it from a different perspective as far as a blind person is concerned, and the dilemmas and the awkward sort of problems that blind people have. And it was just done in a way where I thought it was incredibly enjoyable, and I thought everything about that movie really worked. And so when I saw the trailer, I thought, I love British thrillers, and I love the idea of this blind main character, and it's that, when bad people are chasing you, how are you going to get out of this predicament? And so you've got a supporting cast of Emily Ratajkowski, who plays the Serbian woman. Now, it's much more of a cameo. She's there because she looks very good, so it's nothing to really write home about. You've also got Neil Maskell, who is a very good British actor, and you've also got Jan Bovet, who is a very good Dutch actor. He's in movies such as Borgman and The Ardennes. I'm a real fan of this guy, and to see him as the Serbian warlord, I was really happy. And so it has a good cast. It looked good in the cinematography. I thought the trailer was very well structured, so I had high expectations, and I was hoping those expectations were met, or at least it was going to be a very enjoyable, memorable film. But unfortunately, the whole film falls flat for one very particular reason, which is something I'll go into a little bit later. But I will say that it's not a complete disaster, because it still maintained my level of interest, and that interest is down through Natalie Dormer's performance as this blind woman. She has these brief flashbacks in her life that feed you enough clues as to who she is, but it doesn't use all of its aces too quickly. So you don't say to yourself, alright, it's set in stone who this person is, now what's going to happen. It's basically feeding you gradually as the movie goes along, and so when it feeds you another clue, you want to know more and more. And so that's what keeps you glued to the screen, and that's something that not a lot of directors can do, and I think Anthony Byrne does a good job at maintaining your interest. Although that interest is clouded by a lot of problems, I still thought it prevented it from getting boring, and that's the biggest positive I can say about the film. It's not boring. So I thought that was very well done. I liked the cinematography was excellent, and I thought the score was fantastic. This is a movie, as I said, is about a blind woman, so the overall score and the sense of hearing plays a very pivotal role, and I thought there were some scenes that were actually quite effective as far as, seeing a predicament and seeing a thriller from a completely different perspective. Things that we take for granted for the people who can see is basically not a luxury that these blind people can have, and so it does set a new level of danger and a level of, as I said, a level of threat. And so I thought, okay, well, this movie understands it to some degree, and so that was good. And there was some fairly memorable exchanges. It's not a terribly written film, so the movie is not a complete disaster, but unfortunately, it should have been a lot more simplistic than it was. And what I mean by that is that it's complex enough, is that this woman is blind, is that, okay, if you can leave it there, you're taking it from a different perspective, is that, thrillers where people can see, they can run away, and it's an easy getaway sometimes. But when people can't see, and people who can see are chasing you, that creates that level of excitement, it creates that level of threat, and that should have been just a standard thriller. As I said, a standard thriller, but taking it from a different perspective, so it rises that level of suspense. And that's what Julia's Eyes did so well, and unfortunately this is what In Darkness should have done, but it wants to be a little bit too complex for its own good, and it becomes convoluted. And the convoluted sort of story process, it clouds the level of entertainment. And I thought to myself, it becomes so irritating, because after the silly twist after twist after twist, you go back into the film and you think to yourself, this made no sense. Why did she do this? Why did she do that? And so the movie is almost like it's saying, I'm going to put in these twists just to shock you, but don't question why we put the twist in. So it wants to be a little bit complex, it wants to be a little bit intelligent than it actually is, because when you ask those questions, it doesn't have the answers. And so I just thought to myself, Anthony Byrne just threw them in there to shock the audience, to daze the audience, in the hope that the audience weren't going to be able to think for themselves and scratch their head and question what was going on. Because when you question what's going on and you don't get the answers, you start to see how silly the whole experience is. And so I thought there were plenty of avenues that this movie could have taken. As I said, it could have taken that avenue of just leaving it very simplistic because of the complex dilemma that this woman had. It could have actually been a commentary on war criminals, or basically how we treat the children of these war criminals in question, and how unfair that is. But that's never really gone into, and so it does have glimpses of positivity and glimpses of potential, but that potential is never realised because it just wants to be a movie about twists. And when you got twists that are extremely silly and really lower the film quite considerably, it's just twist after twist after twist, and none of them really work that well. And so yes, as I said, you got brief flashbacks with this main character of Natalie Dormer that prevents it from being boring, but when you actually get more and more of these clues, you start to question what is going on. And you start to notice the movie's going less and less believable. So there's a strong suspension of disbelief that I thought really ruined the film to a lot. It's not a complete disaster, as I said. It does have some positives, but unfortunately I thought that the cast and the overall visuals deserved a lot more competency in the level of storytelling. Is that the storytelling had no real sense of direction. It just gets really silly. It's like putting all your eggs in a basket. Unfortunately, the basket has a hole in it and it splats all over the ground, and it just becomes a bit of disappointment, which is the reason why I am not going to be recommending In Darkness. As I said, it's not a terrible film, but it's certainly a complete mess, and it's one that's not coming recommended. I'm going to give In Darkness 2 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.